Does love fade with time, or does it deepen in ways we don't expect? Society often tells us that passion belongs to the young, that aging means settling for less. But what if the opposite is true? What if love, like fine wine, only gets richer with time? Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, believed that love doesn't just endure as we age, it transforms. It sheds the illusions of youth and becomes something far more profound, a meeting of souls, not just desires. So, how does love evolve, and how can we embrace its hidden depths as we grow older? For centuries, poets and philosophers have wrestled with the nature of love, but few understood its evolution as deeply as Carl Jung. He saw love not as a static emotion, but as a journey that mirrors our own psychological growth. In youth, love is often fiery, idealistic, even possessive. But with age, if we do the inner work, love matures into something wiser, kinder, and more enduring. It becomes less about what we want from another person and more about who we become alongside them. In this video, we'll explore Jung's surprising insights on why love actually gets better with age, and how you can cultivate this deeper, more meaningful connection in your own life. Whether you're in a decades-long partnership or still seeking love, Jung's wisdom reveals how time can be love's greatest ally, not its enemy. Carl Jung saw human life as divided into two distinct phases, each with its own approach to love. In the first half of life, love is often driven by passion, infatuation, and projection. We fall not just for a person, but for the idea of who they could be, or who we need them to be for us. This is the love of youth, charged with intensity but often unstable, because it's built on unconscious expectations rather than true understanding. We seek completion in another, believing love will fill our voids or solve our inner conflicts. But this kind of love, while exhilarating, is fragile. It thrives on novelty and falters when faced with the inevitable imperfections of reality. Jung observed that many people spend years chasing this early form of love only to find it slipping through their fingers, because it's not yet rooted in genuine self-awareness. As we transition into the second half of life, love undergoes a profound transformation, if we allow it. This shift isn't automatic. It requires the difficult work of individuation, Jung's term for the process of becoming whole. Individuation means facing our shadow, the hidden, often uncomfortable parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore, and integrating them into our conscious being. When we do this, love stops being a desperate search for someone to complete us and instead becomes a conscious choice to share our wholeness with another. Mature love isn't blind. It sees flaws and chooses anyway. It's less about fireworks and more about steady warmth, less about fantasy and more about presence. This is where love deepens into something far more resilient and nourishing, because it's built on acceptance rather than illusion. Central to Jung's understanding of love are the archetypes of the anima and animus, the unconscious feminine and masculine aspects within each of us. In youth, these archetypes often manifest as idealized projections. We fall in love with the anima or animus we've unconsciously assigned to another person, which is why early love can feel so intoxicating yet so disillusioning when reality intrudes. But as we age and grow psychologically, these projections recede. We no longer expect our partner to be the magical solution to our inner struggles. Instead, we see them as they truly are, separate, flawed, and human, and love becomes a partnership of equals. This shift from projection to conscious connection is one of the greatest gifts of aging, because it allows love to exist in the real world, not just in our fantasies. Jung's quote, "Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, there love is lacking," cuts to the heart of this evolution. In immature love, there's often an undercurrent of control, the need to shape the other person to fit our desires, or to use love as a means of validation. But in mature love, power dynamics dissolve. There's no need to dominate or manipulate, because love is no longer about filling an inner void. It becomes a space where two people can meet authentically without hidden agendas. This is why love in later life can feel so liberating. It's no longer a battlefield of egos, but a sanctuary of mutual respect. The irony, as Jung saw it, is that this kind of love is far more passionate in its own way, not with the chaotic intensity of youth, but with the quiet fire of deep understanding. This journey from youthful passion to mature connection isn't guaranteed. It demands introspection, courage, and the willingness to let go of old fantasies. But for those who undertake it, love in the second half of life becomes something unexpectedly rich. It's no longer just an emotion, but a shared path of growth, where every challenge and imperfection becomes an opportunity to love more deeply. Jung's vision reminds us that love isn't meant to stay the same. It's meant to evolve as we do, revealing layers of meaning we couldn't have grasped when we were younger. And in that evolution, we find not just companionship, but a mirror for our own becoming. One of the most profound gifts of aging is the deepening of self-knowledge, which transforms how we experience love. In our younger years, we often confuse love with infatuation, projecting our unmet needs, unrealized dreams, and unconscious desires onto another person. We fall in love with who we hope they'll be, rather than who they truly are. But as time passes, if we've done the inner work, we begin to see ourselves and others with clearer eyes. The masks we once wore, the roles we played to feel loved or secure, start to fall away. What emerges is a love rooted in authenticity, where we no longer need our partner to validate our worth or complete our identity. We come to them as whole people, not as seekers searching for salvation. This kind of love is quieter but far more substantial, built on the solid ground of self-awareness rather than the shifting sands of fantasy. With age comes emotional resilience, the hard-won wisdom that only experience can provide. Early relationships often feel like trial by fire, marked by intense highs and devastating lows. But over time, those heartbreaks and misunderstandings become lessons. We learn what truly matters in love, not grand gestures or constant excitement, but trust, patience, and the ability to navigate conflict with grace. Past mistakes teach us what we will and won't tolerate, and more importantly, they show us our own patterns. We stop blaming others for our unhappiness and start taking responsibility for our emotional lives. This resilience allows older love to weather storms that would have shattered younger relationships, because both partners understand that love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up again and again with humility and a willingness to grow. Aging also helps us transcend the ego's need to control or fix the people we love. In youth, love can feel like a project. We try to mold our partners into our ideal image, or we believe it's our job to save them. But with time, we realize this is not only futile, it's a form of arrogance. True love requires releasing the illusion that we know what's best for someone else. It means embracing their autonomy, even when their choices differ from what we might prefer. This doesn't mean we stop caring or growing together. It means we respect the other person's right to their own journey. In mature love, there's a beautiful paradox. The less we try to change each other, the more space we create for genuine transformation. When both partners feel fully accepted, they're free to evolve in the most organic and surprising ways. Perhaps the most overlooked aspect of love's evolution is how it becomes a vessel for shared meaning. In the second half of life, love is less about what we get from each other and more about what we build together. The questions that animate mature love are deeper. How do we face life's uncertainties side by side? How do we make sense of suffering, loss, or the passage of time? Love becomes a partnership in navigating the great mysteries of existence, not with easy answers, but with a shared commitment to wonder and exploration. This is why older couples often develop a silent language, a way of communicating that transcends words. They've witnessed each other's struggles and triumphs. They've seen each other at their best and worst. That shared history becomes a tapestry of meaning, woven with threads of joy, grief, and everything in between. In this way, love in later life becomes something far more expansive than romantic cliches suggest. It's not just a feeling, but a choice. a daily practice of showing up with curiosity, kindness, and the courage to be vulnerable. The beauty of aging love is that it no longer demands constant proof. It rests on a foundation of earned trust. There's a quiet confidence in knowing that your partner has seen all of you, the light and the shadow, and chosen to stay. And in that knowing, love becomes less about what happens next and more about the sacred ordinary, the comfort of a shared silence, the warmth of a familiar touch, the unspoken understanding that whatever life brings, you'll face it together. This is the love that deepens with time, because it's no longer chasing an ideal. It's simply, profoundly real. The foundation of mature love begins with the radical acceptance of imperfection, both in ourselves and in our partners. So much of the pain in relationships stems from clinging to an impossible ideal, whether it's the fantasy of a flawless soulmate or the expectation that love should always feel effortless. As we age, we come to understand that perfection isn't just unattainable, it's lifeless. The quirks, vulnerabilities, and even the frustrating habits that once seemed like obstacles become the very texture of a real, breathing relationship. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or abuse, but rather recognizing that true intimacy grows in the space between our expectations and reality. When we stop demanding that our partners fit a predetermined mold, we open ourselves to the unexpected gifts they actually bring. Their stubbornness might reveal our own control issues. Their emotional reserve might teach us patience. In this light, flaws stop being problems to fix and become instead the raw material of mutual growth, the sand that polishes the pearl of relationship over time. For love to deepen with age, both partners must commit to their individual journeys of psychological and spiritual growth, what Jung called the process of individuation. This isn't about self-improvement in the superficial sense, but about confronting our shadows, integrating our contradictions, and becoming more fully who we are meant to be. Paradoxically, this solitary work is what makes profound connection possible. When two people are actively engaged in their own transformation, their relationship becomes a living dialogue between evolving souls rather than a static arrangement between fixed roles. They inspire each other not through pressure or expectation, but through the quiet magnetism of their own becoming. This requires courage to face our own darkness rather than project it onto our partner, to take responsibility for our happiness rather than blame them for our discontent. The reward is a love that feels both grounded and expansive, where both individuals can flourish without fearing they'll outgrow each other, because growth itself becomes the shared language of their bond. Beyond everyday conversations, mature love learns to speak in symbols, to pay attention to the unconscious currents that shape every relationship. Dreams, recurring arguments, even the seemingly random synchronicities that occur between partners often carry hidden messages about the relationship's deeper dynamics. When we argue about household chores, what ancient wounds might really be at play? When certain patterns repeat across different relationships, what might our souls be trying to work through? Jung taught us that the unconscious communicates in metaphor and image, not just logic. Couples who learn this symbolic language gain access to a richer dimension of intimacy. They begin to see their conflicts not just as problems to solve, but as myths to decipher, stories their psyches are telling about love, fear, healing, and wholeness. This doesn't mean overanalyzing every interaction, but developing a shared curiosity about the invisible forces that draw them together and the unconscious contracts they may have made with each other. In this way, even their struggles become sacred text, offering clues to deeper union. The architecture of lasting love is built through rituals, those small, repeated acts of connection that accumulate meaning over years. Unlike the grand gestures of early romance, which have their place, these rituals are humble but potent. The morning coffee shared in comfortable silence, the annual rereading of favorite love letters, the private jokes that become a secret language. What makes these rituals powerful isn't their spectacle but their consistency, the message they send that no matter how chaotic life becomes, this connection remains a sanctuary. As relationships mature, consciously creating and maintaining these rituals becomes even more vital. They serve as anchors during storms, reminders during dry spells, and living records of all the selves the couple has been together. A ritual might be as simple as always holding hands during difficult conversations, or as elaborate as renewing vows under a particular tree every decade. The form matters less than the intention: to mark time together, to honor what's been built, and to invite the mystery of what's still to come. In a culture obsessed with novelty, these rituals become countercultural acts, assertions that some things are meant to last, to deepen, to outlive our fleeting moods and changing selves. The cultivation of mature love ultimately asks us to hold two truths at once: that love is a daily practice requiring attention and intention, and that its greatest gifts come when we surrender our need to control its shape. It thrives in the tension between effort and grace, between the work we put in and the mystery we can never quite master. This kind of love doesn't promise eternal passion in the youthful sense, but something more valuable: a companionship that understands passion in all its seasons, the quiet embers as well as the blazing fires. It recognizes that the deepest intimacy isn't about losing ourselves in another, but about finding ourselves through the mirror of relationship. And perhaps most surprisingly, it reveals that the love which comes with age isn't a consolation prize for fading youth, but a reward for all we've learned, all we've released, and all we've dared to become. As we've journeyed through Jung's wisdom, one truth stands clear: love's greatest magic doesn't lie in preserving the passions of youth, but in courageously embracing its evolution. The love that deepens with age isn't a faded version of youthful romance. It's something entirely different and more profound. It's the difference between a spark and a steady flame, between infatuation and true intimacy. This mature love carries within it all the seasons of a shared life: the springs of new beginnings, the summers of abundance, the autumns of letting go, and the winters of quiet endurance. It becomes less about how your partner makes you feel, and more about who you become together through all of life's twists and turns. Your experiences with love and aging are invaluable. They're the living examples of these psychological truths in action. Have you noticed love changing its shape as you've grown older? What lessons has time taught you about relationships that your younger self couldn't have understood? Share your stories in the comments below. Your insights might help others navigating their own journeys through love's evolving landscape. If these reflections on love, psychology, and personal growth resonated with you, consider subscribing for more explorations of Jungian wisdom. We delve deep into how these timeless psychological principles can illuminate our modern lives, relationships, and inner worlds. Remember, the goal isn't to stay forever young, but to grow forever whole, in love and in life. Until next time, keep listening to the whispers of your soul.